Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the AJ Way. I'll have theme music at some point, but right now it's just in my head. Anyway, I was about to go to sleep. I had a long day today. I worked open to close today. There's a new girl. I'm training her. I literally talked all day long. So I was about to go to bed and I was reading some articles on Q4 for businesses, like the fourth quarter of the year, the last 3 months, what you need to be doing, what you need to be prepping for when the new year comes, preparing for Q1 of next year. And so I'm just starting in my business and I'm trying to figure out like what the heck do I need to do? Okay? But that led me into, because my business is centered around horses, led me to thinking about, okay, wait, what? I need to prep my horses for Q4. They don't have any business, but just preparing them for the last 3 months of the year. What is it that I need to get together for the last 3 months of the year? Last year I was scrambling, y'all. Last year I was scrambling at the last minute trying to get stuff together, trying to secure stuff. I get my supplies all over the place, and one person runs out of this, the next person only has half of it. It's just last year I was scrambling, so I am determined not to do that this year. So I sat here and I wrote a list of things, 10 things that I knew I needed to get done, and I was like, why not share that? Why not share that with the folks? Okay? So I'm just going to go through my list because it's some stuff you may not even think about. So, yeah. Starting with number one, clean the barn fridge. I don't have a barn, I have a she shed. My name ain't Cheryl, but I got a she shed, okay? And I have a mini fridge in there, and I keep waters and peppermints and medication and carrots and apples in there. And so I went in there the other day, like 2 days ago, and went to put carrots in there, and it was kind of gross because I had left some apples in there for a little bit. So I took the drawers out, took the shelves out, cleaned them off, wiped down the inside of the fridge, and put everything back. And I was like, that's a good thing to do, like just to kind of give me a fresh start into going into the wintertime. So cleaning the fridge out, if you have one in your barn, that is something you should do for Q4. Pulling out your blankets and your sheets to make sure they fit, make sure they still don't have any holes in them, making sure they don't have any guests living in them. People store their blankets differently. My blankets have been hanging up. Like I have a knob on the door of my shed, and the blankets hang there. So they've been hanging there all summer long. I open the door every single day. If there was something living in it, it would have fell out by now. So I'm very confident there's nothing in there, but I will be checking just to be sure. Making sure they have any mice or anything haven't like burrowed into it and pulled stuffing out and made holes and pooped all over it. I know a lot of people store their blankets in those vacuum seal storage bags, making sure that the blankets don't have any mold or just disgustingness. Ideally, you don't store them until they're clean. So, checking those blankets if you blanket your horses and making sure that those are good to go for the wintertime. Do you need to purchase more? Now is the time to get your blankets. It is not time to get blankets in December when it's already cold. Alrighty, same with the sheets. Sheets included. Taking off the sheets that you use in the summertime, fly sheets, stable sheets, anything like that. Making sure they don't have any holes in them. Are you going to repair the holes? Are you not going to repair the holes and just throw the blanket away? If you are going to throw the blanket away, think about donating it to your local animal shelter because the dogs like to lay on blankets. They'll just cut the straps off. So think about that. Checking your weatherization equipment. What does that even mean? When it gets cold, the stuff that you put on all of your equipment to make sure that it doesn't freeze. So water trough heaters, whether you have heated buckets or the sinkable water trough heaters or the floaty water trough heaters, checking to make sure that those work. How? You can take them into your bathtub where you can run cold water. Or, I mean, I guess you could do that in a water trough anyway, but I like to do it in the bathtub because I can see the steam. Like, I can see when I have one that floats on top of the water. When I put it down into the bathtub, I can hear it go shh, and it's heating the water. So that's how I do it. I don't really have a lot of experience with heated buckets. I feel like they're supposed to heat to like room temperature or something like that. So I'm not sure 100% how you would test that beforehand if it's not cold. But I guess you could monitor some kind of temperature change somehow with a thermometer or something. Anyway, faucet covers. I have one faucet that I water the horses with, or spigot covers. That's what I meant, not faucet. They're basically the same thing. But I cover that up with this little pouch, and it has a drawstring on it, and that keeps it from freezing. And then making sure you have any salt. I don't know. Everybody's barns are different. If you got a sidewalk or some area that gets slippery when it rains, freezes, or snows, then you should definitely have some salt on hand so you can sprinkle that down there and make sure your people don't fall. Along with that, do I have that on here? No, making sure you weatherize your equipment, your tractors, your lawnmowers, your gators, whatever, making sure that you've got the right antifreeze in there. If you've been using water instead of antifreeze, it might be time to actually put antifreeze in it instead of putting water in the radiator, because the water will freeze. Okay. Biggie, big important thing, y'all. Securing your hay supplier and your hay storage. Are you going to go ahead and get the hay that you need for the whole winter time? Are you going to get round bales? Are you going to get square bales? Where are you going to get them from? Are they going to keep hay for you? Do you pay in advance to have your hay, to make sure you get some hay? Because once it gets super wet, nobody's making any more hay. So you have to make sure that what you need, you have in advance so that your horses don't go without. Luckily, I have a very nice hay guy. I travel, well, not me personally, but my daddy brings me hay, and he travels a good distance just to get it from the supplier to me, but we always have it and we do not run out. I've never ran out, but I do have to prep, like, Daddy, I'm gonna need hay next week. Can you make sure you get me some kind of situation? And not saying, oh dang, I'm out of hay. Actually, it's snowing right now. I won't be able to get hay. And then the horses are in the cold, wet, and hungry. So we don't want that. Another thing, check your fencing. It's about to be daylight savings time. I don't know about y'all, but I work full time. When I leave around this time of year, it's dark. When I get home, it's dark. Check your fencing now, Because if you're not home during the daytime, then you might miss something. You might, even if you're checking the fence at night with lights or driving around it with a golf cart or something like that, you might miss something. So check your insulators, check your fencing, make sure everything's copacetic, okay? So that you don't have to worry about there being some kind of weakness later on. Okay, securing your feed. It should be secure anyway because nobody likes when mice get into their feed. Nobody likes when the grain mites get into their feed. If you ever open a bag of feed and you're looking at it and it looks like stuff is moving around, take that back. That has grain mites in it, and you cannot get rid of grain mites. I've tried at another barn that I worked at, and grain mites are disgusting. And the horses won't eat it, and sometimes they'll have an allergic reaction to them. So take the food back if it has grain mites. That's usually a summertime problem. But making sure your feed is secure in trash cans, in bins, whatever. I know people buy grain by the bags. When it gets cold outside, where the mice gonna go? They're gonna go in your barn. They're gonna go in your she shed, and they're gonna try to stay warm. And while they're in there, they're gonna get hungry. And what are they gonna get? Your horse's food. They're gonna eat it if it's not secure. So make sure you always secure your feed so mice don't get in, or bugs, or anything like that. All right. I could talk about this for like hours. Deworming. Deworm your horses. In the fall, I always use, I think it's Praziquantel. Whatever brand, as long as it's got Praziquantel in it, because that kills tapeworms. I always do that in the fall. I'm pretty sure that one also does bots. I noticed some bot eggs on my horse's leg yesterday. So I make sure that the deworming that I choose kills tapeworms, it kills bots, and then I'm sure it'll have like some fenbendazole or something like that in it too. That's usually, I think those two are usually paired together. So get on your deworming, whether or not you check a stool sample, do a fecal test, have your veterinarian do a fecal test, or you just say, hey, this is what y'all gonna get for fall. And then do your fecal test in the spring just to see if you carry over any intestinal parasites through the wintertime. Because honestly, North Carolina winters aren't really that harsh to kill all of these bacteria that are in the environment throughout the course of a winter. So you have to do your stool checks in the spring just to see what you got, see what you're going to be dealing with for the year. Number 8, restock your medical supplies. I just realized I hadn't really been counting them, but this one's number 8. Restock your medical supplies. I luckily didn't have any injuries. Knock on all the wood. This year, but I did let someone use my first aid kit, and I took it out to show my 4-H kids, stuff like that. So I'm just going to make sure I got everything in it that I like having in it. I always keep medicine on hand. I always keep Banamine. I got oral or injectable and the paste. I got the Ventipulmin for my horse that has heaves, emergency Ventipulmin. I have dexamethasone just in case for him also. And then got something else. One more thing. I can't remember. Or I think I might have 2 bottles of dexamethasone. But anyway, restock your meds if you need to. Talk to your veterinarian about getting you what you need. Restock your supplies, your vet wrap, Make sure you have scissors, gauze, saline, antibiotic ointment, ice packs. Those are a good thing to have. And that's what I keep in my barn fridge as well. Some ice packs just in case. Yeah, needles and syringes. You never know what you're going to run into, when you're going to run into it. Is the store going to be closed? Is the tractor supply too far? You're at a show. Well, I don't know who's really showing in the wintertime, but anyway, you never know. So just, double check now that you've gone through the summertime, making sure that your medical supplies are stocked up. Number 9, prepping your feed changes for cold weather. When it's cold outside, horses use a lot of their body heat, or a lot of their energy, to create body heat. So horses tend to lose weight because their energy is spent either shivering or just trying to keep themselves warm, especially if they're not blanketed. So a good friend of mine runs a large barn. She says she always blankets all the horses because it cuts down on feed, because she's not having to shove food into them to keep their weight up as they are using those calories to try to stay warm. They're blanketed, it kind of balances out, and she doesn't have to feed them as much, and that cuts her costs down. I don't like blanketing, but it makes sense. And I found that was the case for me as well. My old guy maintained his body condition, although it is fairly low just because of his heaves. He maintained a decent body condition. I would say 4.5 through the winter time last year. And so I'm going to definitely blanket him again this year and hopefully increase his body condition where it is now, and maintain it through the winter. So prep for any changes in feed, whether you're going to increase grain, increase hay, add some beet pulp in there, add some alfalfa cubes, whatever you wish. Go ahead and prep for that and see how that changes your cost if you are really cost conscious. If you have a boarding facility and it's going to affect your profit margin or your overhead, you definitely need to kind of write that down and see who's getting what. And let owners know, especially if you control the feed, let them know, like, okay, are there going to be changes? Is this something new? Let your staff know, if you have people helping you, doing the feeding for you, this is what we're going to do. This is the date we're going to start. We're going to give everybody 3 flakes of hay. They usually get 2. Stuff like that. Number 10. Type up an emergency plan. If something happens, what are you going to do? We're kind of almost through hurricane season, so we don't really need emergency evacuation. I don't know we don't really evacuate for wintertime because our winters aren't that bad in North Carolina. But the reason I have an emergency plan is because the people closest to me aren't going to know if I am not here tomorrow. What do I want to do with these critters that I have? So I have an emergency plan that I email to my mom, and I say, look, if I'm not here, something happens to me, this is what needs to happen with these guys. This is where they go. This is who can have them if you can't take care of them. This is it. I say emergency plan / pet sitter plan. You never know when you have to go. You never know when you're unavailable or you can't get home or you get in an accident or you're stuck at work and it's a snowstorm. That doesn't usually happen, but you never know. It might happen. create an emergency plan or a pet sitter plan or something that notates everything that is supposed to happen. Put it in one of those laminated sheets or file covers or a giant gallon bag and hang it somewhere where, so if your neighbor has to go to your house because you can't get home to take care of your animals, say, look, dude, can you run to the house? I'll pay you. Can you take care of my critters? This is what you need to do. It's actually located right there on the wall where everybody's supposed to be, what they're supposed to eat, and what you need to do to take care of them. Thank you so much. I'll be home as soon as I can. Type up an emergency plan so that you're not stuck if something happens to you. So, those were my 10 things that owners need to pretty much have, or at least be thinking about for this last 3 months of the year, because you'll never know what happens. You'll never know what might happen. You never know when you might need this stuff in a pinch. So I hope you learned something from that. I hope you thought of something new. And if you have something to add to my list, 10 was a good even number. And I felt like that was pretty comprehensive. If you want to add something to my list, let me know. Because I was thinking about, creating a little document and send that out. Boom, everybody has it. Y'all don't have to sit here and think when y'all trying to sleep like I was and be like, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, Brianna already thought of that. Here, she got a list. Let me use this list. That's my jam. That's what I do. I think a lot. So I hope that list was helpful. Drop me a comment. Send me a message if you have any questions, concerns, additions to my list, and I will see you guys next time. Cue the theme music in my head. Bye, y'all.